Okay, well, data. Data everywhere, but from which pool shall I drink to?
Well said, Dirk.
Yes, borrow from a poem. That is actually basically the problem in today's data generating and data gobbling world. We're talking about big data and little data, bad data, even useless data. It doesn't matter, we just can't get enough of it. And if you aren't collecting data and presenting it on a dashboard, you're like, so 2010. So you would think that us quality folk, those of us who use enterprise quality management system software, wouldn't fall prey to the give me more data trap. We must be gathering quality data, right? There must be a reason for it. Well, maybe not. When data is available to be gathered, we just tend to gather it. So the issue then becomes how and what kind of data should we gather in order to forward our operational and business goals? How can we collect, transform, aggregate, correlate, visualize our data in a meaningful way? Where do we start? Well, I don't know. But fortunately, our next guest, Jamie Chumas, Senior Product Manager at Sparta Systems and author of Data, Dashboards, and Decisions, Generating Quality Results, well, he knows. So, hi, Jamie. Welcome to the show.
Hey, guys. Thanks so much. Thanks for having me on.
Okay. Well, as I just said, it seems that everywhere we turn, businesses are obsessed with collecting data. And sometimes it seems it's just collecting data for the sake of collecting data. So what kind of problems, in your opinion, is this causing? And maybe perhaps you even have an example of some of the real problems that this causes.
Sure. And of course, when you're collecting data beyond just the fact that you have to store, back up the data, when you're talking about regulated systems, if that data, for instance, is on forms for intake, then people are being trained on all the data that they might need to or that might be available on that form. And just dealing with the large sets of data in general can be challenging, but specifically in regulated environments, anything that's in your system is open for audits. And when we look at that causes potential issues when auditors come in and they may start digging because there's so much data in your system and you may not necessarily have story to tell about it. But you asked for, I believe, like a specific example. And we look at sometimes when companies put together collection forms in EQMS systems, they always include like a general comments field. And that kind of opens up the gates for anecdotal or opinions and stuff like that can also cause problems during audits.
So Jamie, you mentioned in your piece that you first have to you have to decide basically what you want to learn from your data. So do you mean by that you have to even decide what data to collect, or you're talking about how much data you have to collect? What do you actually mean by that?
So there's a couple things, and I'm going to separate out what to collect versus how much. A couple customers, for instance, they were looking to do or report on right the first time. And when you look at something like right the first time, it's easy, it's like, well, what percentage got rejected versus which was successful. But to really get value and make decisions, you need to probably capture some sort of a reason code as to why it was rejected. Because if you're seeing, a low right the first time, then you want to take action as to how to improve that, and you need specifics. And if you don't capture reason code, a lot of times in a reject format, there may be an optional comments field or summary to say why you're doing it, but not everybody fills it out, and it's not filled correctly. So that's an example. If you know what you want your outcome to be, you can plan what data to collect. On another example, or in another example, we worked with a customer. It was actually a manufacturing person who was an executive sponsor on a Kappa system, and they were interested or wanted to have their manufacturing sites be aware of Kappa that were being opened across other manufacturing sites. And what they wanted them to do was look at reports of Kappa that had been approved for investigation, actually had a root cause code or a root cause identified, and then take a look within their organization and see if that particular event could possibly occur in their site and create a preventive action sort of to be proactive. What he saw, or what the VP of manufacturing saw, was that a lot of times there'd be a problem at one site, and then it would occur later on down the line at another site. And if they'd been proactive about it, they might be able to, they could manage it. So that forced the form collection to include a reference when they opened up a preventive action, so that they could say, I opened up this preventive action because a kappa at another site was open. And they actually created a report called kappa leverage. How many preventive actions am I creating leveraging the work that was done on a given kappa? So that's an example of, where I want to get a report, but I might not have had that reference field in it because I don't know what I want. I may not know what I want to get when I'm just designing the forms and the collection part.
Well, I mean, okay, so we've talked a little bit about collection, and then very often after that, you want to display stuff. Sometimes it's in a report. Sometimes it's in a dashboard. I've seen a lot of dashboards, and kind of in my opinion, dashboards often show you data that you really don't even care about. It's kind of meaningless. It doesn't forward the goals of the company. It's just a graphic for the sake of having a graphic, it seems like. So, I mean, how should you decide what kind of dashboard you need, and even how it should display the data, the method in which the data is going to be shown visually, so that the information it shows is actually informative and actionable?
So I absolutely agree with you about the dashboards being kind of really busy and having a lot on it. And I think part of that is because as the BI tools that people use to create those dashboards became mature and included more bells and whistles, the developers just got excited and just started adding stuff to them and really kind of didn't look at it from a user experience perspective. Because if you think about these dashboards, in a sense, they're mini applications depending on how complex. But to your question about what should go on them, I think you have to look at the different user types or the personas and what they need to gather from them. I mean, I see that it's still in this culture, we're still an email-driven, notification-driven culture, right? The first thing people do when they sit down at a shift or in the morning when they get to the office is, well, let me load up my email and see what's there. The shift should be to dashboards, and the dashboards should be designed for what it is that they need to get done, or what urgency there may be surrounding what they need to get done. So stuff as simple as, what's coming due, what's overdue, of course, and what's actually on plan, so that I have a good sense of for my role, what's in store for me for that day or that week. Now, of course, it's somebody in a supervisory role would want to see something similar, but across the different people in their group. And so these dashboards can be fairly simple and only probably include 3, 4, or 5 different views or charts. And with some of the tools today, you don't necessarily have to build in what visualization you want to use. You can have that as a selected value for the consumer. If I want to see something in a donut chart versus a pie chart, so if I don't want to be edible that day, I might want to put it in a bar or some other chart. So that's a simplistic way to look at it. We've also seen and helped build some sophisticated dashboards that help customers identify supplier risk. So I've got 10 or 12 suppliers, and some of them actually supply me the same material, and I can look and say, wow, the risk on this one's a lot lower. Maybe for the next few months I'm going to source from the lower risk supplier versus the higher risk. And there's enough data around, and I think the one thing that I'll say positively is customers have done a better job of governance. I mean, it used to be the whole thing garbage in, garbage out. I think they're doing a better job with cleaning up what's there so that it can then be reported on it.
Okay. Well, Jamie, we are going to be talking, or you're going to be talking, I'm going to be hosting more on this topic, data, dashboards, and decisions at a webinar coming up next week, next Tuesday, September 15th at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific. And you're going to be diving into that a little bit more. So for our audience out there, if you're interested in seeing how to pick your data and how to what decisions should drive your data, you're going to want to tune into this webinar. So Jamie Chumas, Senior Product Manager at Sparta Systems, thanks for joining us this morning.
Thanks a lot, guys. Have a good day.
Okay, you too.
You too. Thanks, Jamie.
All right.
Yes. Yep. And For all of you out there, yes, as always, you can look forward to your email for information about that webinar. Jamie's article is right below the player page right down there, an article that Jamie wrote that appeared this week in Quality Digest Daily. There's a link to the webinar in there too, so if you're interested in data and dashboards and decision making, check out that webinar, make sure you register for it, and we'll see you then on Tuesday for that, Dirk and Jamie.
Yep.
All righty.